So let me tell you what my Tuesday looks like. I'm up at 6:30, coffee made by 7. By 8, I'm at the community college walking into a classroom where 12 to 15 adults are waiting, most of them mid-career, some just starting out. And for the next 2 hours, I'm teaching operations management from 30 years of actually doing it. Wednesday is the same. Thursday, I'm at a small manufacturing company about 20 minutes from my house. One day, 4 or 5 hours, helping them untangle a supply chain problem they've been circling for months. The kind of problem I've solved 8 or 9 times over a career. For them, it's an obstacle. For me, it's a Tuesday morning crossword. Friday and the weekend are entirely mine. And sometimes, like right now, I sit down and make a video like this one, or I work on a chapter of the book I've been writing. Now, I'm telling you all of this for one specific reason. Because what I just described, those 3 or 4 days of purposeful work, generates income that does something significant for my retirement that my savings alone wouldn't have funded as cleanly. I'll give you one example. I don't travel constantly, but when my wife and I want to go somewhere, a real trip, the kind worth going on, I don't have to think twice about whether we can afford it. Because I know before we book anything that it's covered completely from what I earn in a month of doing what I just described. And I want that to land properly because the travel isn't the point. Your version of that might be different. It might be the fishing boat you've been putting off. The grandkids' college fund you want to contribute to, the home renovation that's been on the list for 3 years, the winters somewhere warm that you've talked about but never quite pulled the trigger on. Whatever that thing is, the one that your retirement savings covers okay, but not comfortably, part-time income has a way of making it feel available rather than theoretical. And that's the shift I want you to carry through everything I'm about to share. Because as I walk through these 7 part-time roles, I want you thinking about more than the hourly rate. I want you thinking about what that monthly number does for the life you actually want to be living. By the way, if you want to see more videos like this, quickly hit the subscribe button right now and ring the notification bell. We don't lecture here. Just real talk from guys like you living it. Now, I didn't come up with this approach on my own, and I didn't stumble into it. There was a man I worked with early in my career. I called him my mentor, though he never asked for that title. He was about 15 years older than me. Sharp in the way that only comes from having been wrong enough times to know what right actually looks like. He retired about 12 years before I did, and about 6 months after he left, I called to check on him. I expected to hear golf, travel, all the things you're supposed to do. Instead, he told me he'd just started consulting 2 days a week for a small company nearby. I asked him if he needed the money. He laughed. He said, "Ed, the money helps. I won't pretend it doesn't, but that's not why I do it." He paused. Then he said, I do it because I need to be needed. And I didn't know that about myself until I stopped working and felt what the absence of it actually felt like. That conversation stayed with me for 12 years. When I retired, I knew before I walked out the door what I was going to do. Now, what I want to share today isn't just my story, because my story is one version of something that's happening across retirement in America right now. Back in 1983, about 11% of people 65 and older were still working in some capacity. Today, that number is closer to 20%, 1 in 5. And here's what that number actually tells you. These aren't men who failed to save enough. They're men who figured out something the retirement brochures never mention. The structure, the social engagement, the feeling of being useful. Those things don't retire when you do. And the men who build purposeful work into their retirement aren't just earning more money. The research shows they stay sharper. They're physically healthier. They report higher satisfaction. They live longer. So today I want to walk through 7 part-time roles that fit retirement well. Every one of them is low stress, flexible, and pays real money. Keep running your own numbers in the back of your head. Because for most men, even the lower paying options on this list, done consistently, cover the thing their savings alone won't fund as freely. Let's get into it. The first one on the list is adjunct teaching. And before you say that's not for you, hear me out. Community colleges and universities across America hire adjunct professors constantly. They hire them specifically to teach practice, not theory, to bring people into a classroom who have actually done the thing they're teaching about. If you spent 30 years in any professional field, operations, logistics, finance, marketing, healthcare management, construction, human resources, sales, there's a course at a community college near you that would be better taught by you than by someone with a PhD but no real-world experience. The pay runs anywhere from $2,000 to $6,000 per semester, depending on the institution and the subject. For 2 classes a week, 2 to 3 hours of actual teaching time, on a schedule built around your life. Now do the math for a second. 2 semesters a year at even the lower end of that range is $4,000 annually. At the higher end, across 2 courses per semester, you're looking at $12,000 to $15,000 a year for 6 hours a week. For a man who loves teaching and has something real to teach, this isn't a side job. It's a way to fund a meaningful piece of retirement while doing something he'd almost do for free. To get started, identify 2 or 3 community colleges within reasonable distance. Look for adjunct faculty openings on their websites. Call the department that covers your field and ask who handles adjunct hiring. Most departments are actively looking, and the conversation is easier than most men expect. Now, the second one surprises almost everyone when they hear it. Patient advocate. You see, the American healthcare system is complicated in a way that genuinely overwhelms most people. The insurance language, the billing codes, the appeals process. For people without experience navigating it, every interaction feels like being in a foreign country where nobody speaks your language. Patient advocates know that country, and they get paid to help others through it. They help patients understand diagnoses and treatment options. They sit in on medical appointments and make sure the right questions get asked. They deal with insurance companies on behalf of people who don't have the energy or the knowledge to fight those battles themselves. The pay is substantial. Experienced patient advocates earn between $35 and $60 an hour and up. Much of the work is done from home or by phone. The clients who need this help aren't hard to find. They're everywhere because the system is that confusing for that many people. Now, who is this for? The man who spent his career in healthcare administration. Oh, the man who became the person everyone called when they had a medical billing question. The man who navigated something complicated for a family member and realized he was good at it and found it satisfying. At $50 an hour, 10 hours a week, that's $2,000 a month. $24,000 a year? From home, on your schedule. Look up the Patient Advocate Foundation and the National Association of Healthcare Advocacy. Certification programs exist that establish credibility quickly, and for a man with the right background, the certification is almost a formality on top of what he already knows. Okay, the third one. Tour guide. And yes, I know how that sounds, so let me reframe it. A tour guide in retirement isn't standing at the front of a bus with a microphone. It's a man who knows his city, his region, his history, in the way that only comes from 40 years of actually living there, and who takes people through it in a way that makes them feel like they're seeing it for the first time. Historical societies, state parks, battlefields, museums, walking tours through neighborhoods with real stories behind them. These organizations are constantly looking for people who know the material and can communicate it. The pay runs $20 to $40 an hour, often more with tips. The hours are flexible. Many guides work weekends only, and the social interaction is constant. For the man who loves people, loves stories, and knows his corner of America well, this is one of the most enjoyable things on this list. And at $35 an hour on a Saturday morning for 4 hours, that's $140 in a morning. 2 Saturdays a month, over 12 months. That's $3,360 a year from Saturday mornings. It doesn't sound like much until you ask what $3,360 a year does to a travel budget, or a boat fund, or a grandkids account. Now, the fourth one, youth sports official, referee, umpire, line judge. Whatever the sport, whatever the level, youth sports leagues across America are perpetually short of officials. And what does the job actually look like? You show up on a Saturday morning to a baseball diamond or a soccer field. You work for 2 or 3 hours. You earn between $50 and $300 per game, depending on the sport and the level. You go home. No office, no performance review, no email waiting when you get back. And here's what catches men off guard when they try this. It's genuinely fun. Being around kids who care that much about something. Being outside. Being physically active without it feeling like exercise. Being part of a community that runs on weekends and summer evenings. Most officiating certifications cost under $100. Many leagues cover that cost because they're that desperate for reliable officials. An official working 2 games a weekend at $100 per game earns $800 a month during the season. In many parts of the country, sports seasons run 8 to 9 months a year. That's $6,400 to $7,200 annually. From weekend mornings, outdoors, around kids who think you hung the moon when you make the right call. Call your county parks and recreation department this week. Ask how they certify sports officials. The conversation takes 5 minutes. The fifth one. Tutoring, and this one scales with your expertise in a way the others don't. A man tutoring basic math earns $20 to $30 an hour. A man tutoring SAT prep earns $50 to $75. A man tutoring professional certification exams, accounting, project management, engineering licensure, earns $80 to $150 an hour and up. The demand is consistent. Students always need help. Parents always want their kids to have it. Professionals seeking certification will pay serious rates for someone who actually knows the material. You set the schedule. You choose the subjects. You decide in person, online, or both. For the man who loves teaching but doesn't want a classroom, tutoring is the quieter version of the same satisfaction. One person at a time. Focused, specific. The improvement visible in real time. Platforms like Wisent and Tutor.com let you build a profile quickly. Or go direct, a card at the library, the community center, the local high school. Most men who start tutoring find a full schedule within a month. Now, the sixth one. And this is the one that carries the most financial potential for most men in this audience. Consulting in your former field. And I mean this specifically. Not consulting in the vague, abstract sense. I mean calling 2 or 3 people you already know from your career and telling them you're available. Small businesses, growing companies, and nonprofits constantly need senior-level expertise they can't afford full-time. An operations director, a finance manager, a logistics specialist, a human resources veteran. These roles cost $100,000 to $150,000 a year to fill with a full-time hire. A retired man who's done that job for 30 years, available 2 days a week on a project basis, he costs a fraction of that. Comes with no benefits overhead, so no equity expectations, no career ambitions to manage. Just the expertise applied precisely to the problem that needs solving. The pay reflects real experience. $75 to $150 an hour is standard for genuine senior expertise. 1 day a week at $100 an hour, 5 hours of actual work. That's $500 a week, $2,000 a month, $24,000 a year from 1 day a week. And here's what makes consulting different from every other option on this list. The work keeps your mind sharp in a way that nothing else quite replicates. Real problems with real stakes. The kind of thinking that crossword puzzles approximate but never actually deliver. To start, write down 5 people from your career who run or own a business, or who work inside a company that might need what you know. Call them. Tell them you've retired, you're available for project work, and you wanted them to know before you started talking to people you didn't know as well. Most men find their first consulting client inside that list of 5, before they've even finished making the calls. And the 7th one. This one I'll be direct about because I do it, and I think more men in this audience should take it seriously. Writing and content creation around what you know. A book, a newsletter, a YouTube channel, a podcast. If you've spent 30 or 40 years in any field, you have knowledge that people coming up behind you would genuinely benefit from. The kind of knowledge that doesn't live in textbooks because it comes from the decisions that didn't have clean answers. The situations that required judgment rather than procedure. The mistakes that taught more than the successes. That knowledge has real market value. A well-written book in a professional niche earns royalties for years. A newsletter with a few hundred engaged readers generates income from subscriptions and partnerships. A YouTube channel in the right niche, retirement, personal finance, professional development, builds audience that compounds over time. Now, the income from these things builds slowly. I want to be straight about that. A book takes time to write and time to find its audience. A channel takes months before it earns anything meaningful. But here's the thing I found, and it's the thing my mentor would have recognized immediately. The act of sitting down and organizing what you know, putting it into words, structuring it, figuring out how to explain it to someone who hasn't lived it, is one of the sharpest mental exercises available to a man in retirement. It forces clarity. It connects you to people you'd never otherwise meet. And over time, the income becomes real. My books earn while I'm on a trail somewhere. The channel earns while I'm consulting. The consulting builds credibility for the books. Each thing feeds the others. And taken together, the teaching, the consulting, the writing, the channel, what I earn from those things funds the parts of my retirement that my savings alone would fund adequately but not freely. That's the difference. Adequate versus free. The fishing trip I don't have to calculate twice. The flight to see the grandkids I book without a conversation with myself about whether it fits. The winter week somewhere warm that goes from maybe someday to let's go. That's what this kind of income does for a retirement. And that's why it's worth building deliberately. Now, a word about Social Security before I close. Because part-time income and Social Security interact in ways worth knowing. If you're already drawing Social Security and you earn part-time income, earning limits apply before you reach full retirement age. In 2025, the SSA withholds $1 for every $2 you earn, over $23,400. After full retirement age, which for most men born after 1960 is 67, you can earn as much as you want with no reduction. And here's something most men don't know. Part-time income in retirement can actually increase your Social Security benefit. Your benefit is calculated on your best 35 years of earnings. If any of those years have low or zero income, Part-time work now can replace them in the calculation and raise your monthly benefit. Even a modest improvement compounds significantly across a retirement that might run 20 or 25 years. Know your numbers before you make decisions. The My Social Security tool at ssa.gov lets you see exactly where you stand. Now, here's where I'm heading with all of these talk. When my mentor told me he was consulting 2 days a week, I thought he was filling time. I understand now that he was doing something much more deliberate. He was designing a life that gave him what work had always given him: purpose, engagement, the feeling of being needed, while stripping away everything that had made work hard. No politics, no performance reviews, no pressure to be something he wasn't anymore. What he built was work on his own terms. And it turns out that version of work is one of the best things available to a man in retirement. The money is real, but the money is almost secondary to the other thing. The thing he named that night on the phone. The need to be needed. That's worth designing around. And any one of the 7 things I just walked through is a way to do exactly that. Now, if today gave you something to think about, share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because a lot of men are sitting on energy and expertise right now with no clear outlet for either. And sometimes the right conversation at the right moment changes everything. And if you're not already part of this community, come join us, because this is exactly what we do here. Real talk from guys who are actually living it. What works, what doesn't, and what nobody tells you until you've already found out the hard way. Hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. See you in the next one.